Hey everybody, welcome to the Daily Space Weather. I'm Dan, your host, aka smAsho. Today we'll be talking about a helium filament, which we saw yesterday. A sunspot rises in the east, which will likely degrade, and a Farside CME. Let's get to it. First, we're showing you this filament here. And if you look right in this area here, you can see this filament. There's no solar flare associated with that. There's not even a coronal mass ejection, at least not on the earthly side of the sun. Great view of that. And I'll rock that back and forth here in a minute after it plays through a few times. Prime example of a large filament which never made it out of the corona. It likely splashed back down into the chromosphere, or it could have gotten pulled around to the far side of the sun. Very hard to tell from this angle. And we'll show you those additional views in just a moment. Just bear with me. We are streaming live to Twitch. It is twitch.tv/smAsho. So we're going to zoom in here a little bit. Great view of that filament there. There you can see that filament. Tough to tell if it got pulled around to the far side. I think it got pulled around to the far side if I had to guess. But no Earth-facing coronal mass ejections associated with that. The 10.7 centimeter radial flux is at 77. There's the 1 year chart of the radial flux. And here is about a 6 year chart of the radial flux. And you can see still up here above 75 on the radio output of the outer solar corona. And you can see how proportional that is to sunspot number, which is the graph at the top of your screen. And next we've got some fantastic Helio viewer movies. First of all, we're going to look at yesterday once again, and you'll be able to see, let me get off the screen actually. Whoosh. And you can see that filament and how it doesn't really equate to any ejecta visible on the LASCO C2, and the coronagraph is this black disk covering up the sun, so we get a view of the corona, creating essentially an artificial eclipse on the SOHO spacecraft's coronagraph C2. Next we'll look at a little closer view of that. Another great view. This is just one day, yesterday, November 16th. And you can see that filament there. Next, let's move into today, but first, I wanted to show you that there is a coronal mass ejection propagating on the far side of the sun. Stereo A is located at Lagrange point 5, and the Earth would be out in this direction from Stereo A. We call this Stereo A Space Weather Beacon. You can look at that yourself on the ISWA page, the Integrated Space Weather Analysis Center. And once again, we've actually caught a coronal mass ejection as it's propagating. This is a regular thing for our channel now. It's official. Tell your friends, foes, science noobs, and science pros. We've been forecasting things that nobody else in the world seems to be able to forecast. Otherwise, I assume that they would do it. Congratulations to us. Please share the content in your social media, etc., as we're tanking over here. I'm thanking you, the viewer, but we're tanking. And so help us create more newer content. And here's a view of today, the last 24 hours here, with the LASCO C2 and 304 angstroms. Sunspot rising in the southeast, and it is a sunspot. It's decent sized. More analysis on that coming up. First, I'd just like to say welcome to the Matrix. It seems that stars are made of condensed matter, so we've created the Matrix as one of our backgrounds. We hope you like it. Here is the 304 angstroms view of that rising sunspot. It'll be named 2783 today. It's way too big and way too well defined to fizzle out in less than 12 hours. Sunspot 2783, welcome to the solar system. Great view in 304 angstroms, and here you can actually see that umbra. This is 1700 angstroms, 1700 angstroms. A wavelength that doesn't show much besides sunspots, and it's great to watch sunspot evolution on the 1700 angstroms SDO view. Here's 94 angstroms, which is one of the highest temporal resolution, along with 131 angstroms. 94 angstroms is that green color. And there is some possibility for probably C-class flares, as I don't see. It's an alpha-class sunspot as far as I can tell at this point. Here's 131 angstroms. This is the only other view besides 94 that takes 10 images per minute instead of only 2. And 131 and 94 are both specifically formulated to watch coronal mass ejections, solar flares, and other filamentary behavior. And last but not least, the 171 angstroms view of Sunspot 2783. And here we've got a full disk view, and we've included the 304 angstroms and 171. Here you can see Sunspot 2781 setting there in the east, former Sunspot 2782 in the Earth-facing zone there, just moving past central longitudes. A bunch of plasma filaments up there in the northeast as well, and you can see some great definition in the northern coronal hole region. And next, I'd just like to thank our patrons, the true source of funding for the content. Please consider becoming a patron. You may see all kinds of perks that you don't see otherwise. We've got a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that you may not know about if you're only freeloading and watching the videos on YouTube. So while we greatly appreciate your viewership, please consider opening up your moldy, moth-filled, cobweb-encrusted wallet and sending us a couple bucks per month. We recommend signing up at the $3 per month tier if you want to dip your tippy toe into our patronage, as we'll be changing tiers around New Year's Eve. So there'll be some changes happening, and we don't want to roll those out until probably around Christmas. Again, thanks to our patrons, the true source of funding for the content. And today's Smashlights is going to be brief, so let's blast through it. And thanks for leaving a comment. Be stoic. Yes, we are the least busted name in news. We are not COVIDiots. We call everybody on their nonsense, and I could care less if it's the Emperor of the Universe or projected galactic Emperor-elect, which is my title on Twitter, if you're wondering. Yes, I'm projected galactic Emperor-elect, because you can call yourself projected anything elect, and it's totally meaningless. So pardon the sarcasm. It's biting. Be Stoic says it's a trap. More Dems flipped ever before. The clock is ticking and people are not buying it. CNN up for sell, Amazon selling off stock to buy it. Yeah, I tweeted about this a couple days ago. I wonder if Amazon stock has crashed further. I noticed it was going down yesterday. I hope Amazon buys CNN, because it's like the equivalent of crap taking a crap if that happens. What a joke. I mean, Jeff Bezos buys the Washington Compost, and now he's thinking about buying CNN. I just love it. I really, really hope that that becomes a thing. I'm very excited about it. Please buy CNN, Amazon. I don't care about your stock price. Otherwise, I would not make such advice. Hilarious notion. By the way, if you haven't checked out smashamash.com/forum, there are a bunch of different forums there, one on cosmology, Earth and geophysics, a free-for-all, and so on. We've actually put some updates in there. You may want to check that out. I won't tell you what they are, otherwise you probably won't go to the page. Also on the homepage, we've made some changes. If you haven't seen it yet, we've got our 3 smashamash.org presents the sun videos there on the homepage, so go watch those if you haven't. They're just solar imagery, almost entirely solar imagery. Also check the links to the Smash forum, which is, you can link right there, as well as the stores. Our latest design is this condensed matter matters design. showing the sun as made of some sort of hexagonal lattice structure, and including our logo. So that's the Smash store and the smAsho store. So check those out. Perhaps pick up some merch. And we're going to show you the page in a minute here. I'm just waiting for it to load. I apologize for the delay. We are streaming live. So yeah, here's one of the Smash stores. Are you safe yet? Well, perhaps pick up a mask or a neck gaiter if you're not safe yet. And we've also got these shirts such as Smash or Price My First Pandemic, Mansa, where we invite you to make America not suck again. Thanks to everybody who's bought merch. We greatly appreciate your patronage. And also check out the other Smash store. Now these are both linked at the homepage. The first one is the smAsho store. The second one's the Smash store. And this has got another mask, Condensed Matter Matters, as well as the newest shirt design, which actually comes in two different designs. One is a print all over shirt. Perhaps pick one up in blaze orange, because nothing says don't run me over or shoot me like a blaze orange shirt. We also are on Discord, and we've sent an invite to all of our patrons there. And you can get an invite too, as we made it a public post. And we do regularly put up public posts at patreon.com. So go follow us there, even if you're not willing to open your cobweb-encrusted wallet and send us a couple bucks per month for the content. Patreon.com/smAshomash. Some posts over there are even free. So check it out. Discord.com/channels/smAshomash is the Discord channel. We're also on Instagram. There's exclusive content on all of our different WebRing sites. So check that out if you haven't yet. Instagram.com/smAshomash. Thanks to YouTube for remonetizing our videos. So shout out to YouTube. Well done. I mean, we didn't do anything particularly controversial, but we had a few videos demonetized in the past couple days. Those have been manually reviewed and remonetized. So cheers. Thanks, YouTube, for being reasonable about our content. If you enjoy the content on YouTube, press like and subscribe over here. Share on your social media, please. And if you know any influencers who'd like to talk to us, drop us a line, smashomash@gmail.com, or find us on any of the other social medias. Thanks to our new BitChute subscribers, this video will be over on BitChute. Again, share the content. We're also on Facebook, facebook.com/smashomash, and we've got a group as well, facebook.com/groups/entropybusters. As part of the purpose of these videos is busting entropy, stomping on nonsense, and citing the facts and understanding the physics. Bestoic says concerning shirt designs, he doesn't go in public often, and he'd much rather send cash, as donating expired food and condensed milk does little to the homeless, as the shelters can buy food in bulk prices. Thanks for that update, Bestoic. Bestoic is one of our top patrons. We're also on Minds, and I would highly encourage all of our viewers to branch out into alt tech. I know there's different alt tech sites that are all over the place right now. If you haven't checked us out on Minds, well, you're probably missing out. We've been there for about 4 years, as I started shouting from the rooftops about the electioneering by organizations like Google, Facebook, and Twitter back in 2016. Nobody listened. It's been crickets. And it's not making me mad, but it is causing the country to be on fire. And so, once again, I'm back here putting out fires. Congratulations. And by the way, congratulations to the projected winner of the election. Trump can be quoted as saying he won the election. And here's the map, courtesy of epochtimes.com. Yeah, since 6 states are still contested, what's up with that? As there are recounts happening in 2 states and legal challenges in 4 states. If you don't follow us on Twitter, you may not see tweets like this. And I'm not going to tell you what I've been tweeting, because we would prefer for you to follow us. Again, we've got exclusive content on all the different sites. Twitter.com/smashomash, the official Twitter account of the Smash News Network. We're also on Gab, gab.com/smashomash. Everything is at Smashomash. So we're all over the internet. Again, you can see all the social media links at the homepage, smashamash.com. We are streaming live currently to twitch.tv/smashamash. All the links are below the video. And here ends today's Smash Lights segment. Just a brief rundown of where we're at. Where we're at. I know that's bad grammar. Where we are. It's still not as bad as half of the grammar printed on internet news websites. Let's talk cosmology for a quick moment. I'm going to find out about this at the same time you are. So first of all, we're picking a random number between 1 and 1031. Today's random number is 961, which coincides with something at the Neil Gorel Swift Bat X-ray Observatory. Let's see what 961 happens to be. It is a quasar known as QSOB2136 plus 1410. There are the X-ray emissions as gathered by Neil Gorel Swift Bat X-ray Observatory. And check it out, it's actually getting higher highs and higher lows over the past 9 years. Interesting. Let's take a look at it on Sinbad, if we can find it. And you just click on that from the Neil Gorel Swift Bat X-ray Observatory. Here is that quasar. And this should give you the location here. If we zoom out far enough, it should show the galactic plane. And there you can see the galactic plane. It's quite off in the outskirts. Let's take a look at it quick on Aladdin Light. And we won't see that. Let's check this one. An optical survey. Nope. How about in red light? And there's a view of that quasar in from Pan-STARRS. Bands Z and G. So that's we just throw in the cosmology segments to give folks some further reading if you feel like looking up certain objects. We do have a cosmology forum at smashamash.com/forum, so perhaps check that out. And that's today's brief cosmology segment. Let's get back to data here as we've got more content to put out today. First, looking at the real-time solar wind. And let me just expand this a little bit. It's a little bit too small here. Also allow me to vanish off the screen. We do see a recent divergence in the BTBZ. So some striations happening there. South pole oriented BZ there. Its current level is -2 for the BZ and 3 for the BT. Pretty uneventful. Phi angle is shifting, and we see around 138 degrees, an indication of perhaps some coronal hole influence on magnetism, at least of the current sheet. Looking at solar wind density, we see an uptick from yesterday here. 8.34 protons per cubic centimeter. Solar wind speed 308 kilometers a second. Coming off the floor, it made it as low as 271 actually. One of the lowest solar wind speeds we've ever reported on the channel. So, solar activity weekend here, and we're going to have just one day without sunspots because that sunspot will be named again today. Probably watch the radio flux stay pretty level here unless we see some new activity kicking off. And it looks like another coronal hole wind stream here as we see the solar wind density come up, and then the solar wind speed come up after that. We're probably going to see the solar wind density drop off and the solar wind speed continue to go up. That's my forecast. So watch that throughout the day. Cite me as incorrect or correct tomorrow. KP index has been at 0 almost entirely. Have you seen complete covidiocy going on? Have you had a complete weekend of nonsense? Have you been stuck in the matrix over the weekend? Have you been scam frauded by anybody over the weekend? Have you noticed any scams, fraud, abuse, malware, fraudware, spyware, etc.? Have you seen something like that going on? Yeah. There's a lot of that going on, isn't there? Anyway, the KP is currently at 0. And thanks, new viewers, for tuning in. The KP index is a measurement of global geomagnetism. Let's look at cosmic rays since we're seeing such low KP index numbers. And here is the past 30 days at Apatity. Quite flat. The past 30 days at Barentsburg. Similarly flat there. Let's go a little farther south to Athens. Athens, Greece. There is the 30-day chart of Athens. Pretty flat there as well. Next we'll look at Mexico City and not Tule because the data at Tule is clearly garbage. Here is a 30-day chart of Mexico City's Cosmic Ray Observatory. Flat over the past 30 days there as well. And last, we'll look at Oulu, Finland, and DOMC, Antarctica. There's Oulu, Finland, flat over the past 30 days, and there's DOMC, Antarctica. So the little downtick in solar activity over the past week does not seem to coincide to increased cosmic ray flux. Don't take our word for it. Go monitor it yourself if you like. Here's what's going on in the Geospace according to the Space Weather Modeling Framework. This is 4 hours of data on magnetohydrodynamic pressure. Nothing to write home about here. Everything looking pretty normal as we see a fairly steady wind speed over the past 4 hours. Here are ground geospace magnetic perturbations, and we show this daily since we are living through a polar excursion. I don't know if you're aware, the Earth's south pole is way out here somewhere. We've got a north pole over Siberia and a north pole over northern Canada, putting the north net pole someplace around here. There's those 4 hours of data, a little bit more magnetic perturbation. And by the way, this is changes in the Earth's B field. That's why it's notated as delta B. Whenever you see delta in science, folks, or if you see a triangle, that means that's literally the Greek letter delta, which means change in. And that's why delta force is called delta force, if you're wondering, because they're making important changes. Proton flux is flatlined, and we've started showing this again as coronal mass ejections will eventually start striking the magnetosphere. We don't see any significant solar flares, and don't get solar flares, which are photons, mixed up with coronal mass ejections, which are mostly made of protons, which are like 1,100 times more massive than electrons. Next, looking at the star chart here, I like to use in-the-sky.org. I face my star chart to the south. If you want to make your own, just go here, put in your zip code or your town or whatever. We have ours set to Allentown, as I'm from the Lehigh Valley. And Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, yes, East Central Pennsylvania. And if you're up before dawn, you may see Venus and Mercury. You may have trouble seeing Mercury because Venus is the third brightest object in the sky. Here's what's going on in the solar system. There's where things will be in a week. We'll probably catch Mercury on the LASCO C3 in a couple of days. Well, a couple of days after a week, maybe 10 days. We should see Mercury roll through the C3. There's the GOES magnetometer. And let's see what we can expect for magnetism. Here's the data from the Gong 2. We're looking at the top view ecliptic plane field plot as if you're looking at the sun down on the North Pole. And the Earth is solidly in the North Pole current sheet. No changes will be happening in that anytime soon. Keep in mind the data is 1 hour and 38 minutes old, and magnetic situations can change with absolutely no warning. And we're expecting to see some sawtooth patterns going on here in the GOES magnetometer as a result of the suspended plasma in this system. Remember, folks, plasma is not the magnetic field. Plasma orients to and is heated up by the magnetic field. Next, we'll look at the coronal hole field plot. And this is line of sight. Now we're looking from the view of the Earth. And this also shows the sun's B field in blue. North Pole coronal holes in North Pole oriented coronal holes in green. South Pole coronal holes in red. And lastly, looking at the line of sight field plot here, it also shows the Z fields, the sun's solar polar fields in red and green, South Pole, North Pole, respectively. No major changes happening there. No big yanks in the B field toward Sunspot 2783. And so that's part of the reason why we think it'll degrade. Next, looking at the magnetic field plot here of the corona itself. This one shows open potential field surface source lines in purple, closed potential field source surface lines in pink. And let's start looking at electrons. And we've included this image here because This shows you sort of where satellites are, and it shows you sort of a basic diagram of the Earth's Van Allen belts, showing you both the inner and outer Van Allen belts. I would note that also a third layer can form here during coronal mass ejection strikes and coronal hole wind stream hits on the geospace. Let's look at electrons. We don't see a lot of charging hazards. We see 0 charging hazards. We see the 1-year graph showing us in a quite low range here. NOAA forecasting even lower electron flux, and I would agree with this, as it looks like a coronal hole wind stream is showing up already. And we see the electron flux has been cratered over the last 3 days. Let me just check the life of the stream in the chat. Again, thanks Be Stoic for leaving comments. I don't know why Discord has expired, but discord.com/channels/smAsho. And again, if you go to patreon.com/smAsho, we've just put up a public post there, which will invite you to the Discord channel. We invite all of our viewers to come check it out. Put up information there, whatever you want. It's basically a free-for-all. Don't put up anything illegal, or you'll be banned. Next, we're looking at the total electron content forecast here, and we see some anomalies happening, which we typically do see with low levels of electron flux. Is it a coincidence? Well, the answer is no. And typically you see less electrons over nighttime, and you can see these isolated belts of electrons happening even though it's nighttime in those areas, creating surprising GPS errors in places like the Central Atlantic, as well as over northern Canada and North America. Here's just one slice of that, as the total electron content forecast includes the entire air column up to the thermosphere. This one includes just one slice, just the ionosphere layer. And by the way, the ionosphere layer, the F2 layer, is where the GOES 16 endeavors to make its measurements for the magnetometer, the X-ray flux, the electron flux. All that GOES 16 data is preferably measured at the ionosphere layer. Keep in mind this does change altitude a little bit based on things like thermosphere index and so on. And the ionosphere is looking a little bit anomalous here, and it's typical. We see fairly anomalous ionospheres when we have such low levels of electron flux. Also big charge disparities between daytime and nighttime. A little bit higher push me pull you going on. Let's look at volcanoes of the past 24. The current eruptions are Did I fail to show that? Here's a total electron content forecast. If I missed that, I apologize. Again, I am streaming live here, and we prefer the live format, and look for more live videos coming soon. Here is the volcano rundown. Klyuchevskoye is exploding, producing a 20,000-foot ash plume. Tukono is exploding, producing a 6,000-foot ash plume. Fuego has dispersed the ash that it emitted yesterday, or I should say 2 days ago. Sangay is exploding, flight level 210, that's a 21,000-foot ash plume there at Sangay, so a little uptick in Ecuador. Revenador exploding, 15,000-foot ash plume there, and Sabancaya is exploding, it's producing a 27,000-foot ash plume. Please do not attempt to fly your hang glider or homemade kit helicopter over the caldera. Next, we're looking at this hurricane, which was a Category 5 briefly yesterday. It made landfall as a Category 4. We're going to show you the precipitation forecasts here in a minute. Currently, we're looking at the surface winds at nullschool.net. So there's the current state of affairs. Here is the 250 hectopascal winds. And we're expecting this to continue to weaken here, although there's going to be quite catastrophic rain, as well as some effects on coffee futures. So we've already seen some of those effects happen. That would be a commodity to watch today if you're into the economic markets. Take a look at commodity futures. They crashed a little bit yesterday. Here are the rest of the Western world's jets. And look at that extreme meridional 180-degree jet stream bend there over the North Pacific. As well as another strong low-pressure system here over the Eastern Caribbean. Here are the jets of the Eastern world, I think. There we go. And once again, we see the jet stream flowing east to west over the Indian Ocean, which is backwards, if you're wondering. And just bear with me one moment while I check the life of the stream here and move on to the next slide, which will be the precipitation forecast, which is looking pretty harsh for parts of Central America and even southern Mexico. So there you go. We're getting into value-added services here at the Smash News Network. Again, tell your friends and foes and science noobs and science pros. By the way, leave us a comment if you'd like a specific weather forecast. We're considering doing more meteorology videos, as it's something that I understand and am more than willing to talk about. So this is the precipitation forecast here through, let me blow that up a little bigger. That's the precipitation forecast through 12 noon Universal Time on Saturday, November 21st, and you can see some spots there where about 2 feet of rain are forecasted there in Central America. Here's the progression through Saturday. And keep in mind that can change. Any forecast longer than 3 days is going to have a very low level of accuracy. Next, looking at pressure cells here on windy.com. Here's where they are now. And here's where the GFS forecast anticipates them to be at noon tomorrow. High pressure moving over the eastern U.S., and we're expecting some clear skies as a result. Earthquake rundown of the past 24. Let's see what we have. No large quakes, although we saw a deep quake yesterday at 12:36 Universal Time at Vanuatu. It's a 4.7 magnitude. A 5.1 may have been one of the largest here. Again, no big quakes. A couple deep quakes, including this one here, a 4.5 magnitude in western South America at 229 kilometers. And I'll just scroll up the list. Viewers, please leave comments if I missed anything. Largest of the past 24 appears to be this 5.4 magnitude at Papua New Guinea. Next, we're going to look at lightning at lightningmaps.org. Again, thanks for leaving comments. Be stoic. Perhaps we'll see you at the live premiere. We've got a heavy lightning storm here over the eastern Mediterranean. Check it out. Yowzers. Looks like the most activity is right up here. Shout out to our European viewers and viewers from around the world. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We greatly appreciate your insight into what's going on in places besides the U.S. It's always very interesting. Let's bring up the GOES 16 lightning mapper here. Check out the lightning scenario over the Caribbean, the southern Caribbean. And just give that a minute to load. Again, we are streaming live. If you want to see the content live, it's twitch.tv/smAsho. The mobile app is fantastic. If you've never tried it out, perhaps check it out. It's quite good. Quite good indeed. And something funky going on with the lightning mapper there. Let's just move on to the U.S. Doppler Radar Map. There you go. We've got snow in the northern half of Pennsylvania. I don't think that's going to make it quite down to where I'm located here in Lehigh Valley. And if you're wondering where Lehigh Valley is, it's right about there where the Delaware River kind of bends into Pennsylvania. It's just west of that. We're so close to New Jersey, I can practically smell the stink. No offense to New Jersey residents. I was referring to the stinking bureaucracy of the communist state of New Jersey. Yes. One of the last places I would prefer to go. Along with Maryland, New York, Illinois, and California. Washington and Oregon making dishonorable mention. Here's what's going on in the cloud layer. And let's move on to the water vapor map here. And there's a bunch of dry air associated with this hurricane, which is going to probably weaken it. And let's zoom in on the Great Lakes as there's some jet stream pushes happening up there. By the way, we use the NASA GOES interactive weather satellite suite. The water vapor map gives us insight into what's happening when the Doppler radar does not show sufficient information. And some cold air blasting down, making for cold days in Illinois, Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, even into Kentucky and southwestern West Virginia. And thanks for tuning in, folks. Thanks for flying American Smashways. Please keep your head and arms inside the smash plane at all times. We've got bonus features. We're going to show you the 2-day SDO video in 335 angstroms. We're going to show you the solar intensity gram to show you the umbra associated with Sunspot 2783. Welcome to space. We may have another sunspot forming here as well. And here it is. So this region up here, there's actually two of them. That region there and that region there are showing some magnetic organization. Something to keep an eye on throughout the day. And when I say ion, well, the pun is intentional. That could already be a sunspot. We'll show you in a minute. There's Sunspot 2783, and that will get a name today. Here is Sunspot 2783, and it's actually degraded since we did show prep. So the penumbra started to kind of break down a little bit here. Looks to me like it's shrinking. It's now smaller than the Earth. Let's see if we see any umbrae up here. And indeed I don't. Sunspot 2783 will be a thing. It's alpha class as far as I can tell. And here is the 335 angstroms view. Just give that a moment to load. It's well worth it. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, stare at the sun, don't drink it. If you do, don't drive. Unless you want to drink, then drink. I really don't care. But anyway, please visit the links below the video. Check us out on social media. Consider supporting the channel, becoming a patron, picking up some merch. It's quite nice, by the way. And it's all original. And in closing, may that solar wind be at your back and that covidiocy absent from your location.